welcome back to another video. Now, yesterday there wasn't very much news, nothing really big to go over. There was this Jeff Grubb putting out here that the week of May 25th may be the PlayStation showcase, but obviously this is subject to change, but it looks like that's where it's slotting in here, which is just a couple of weeks before the Xbox and Bethesda showcase. And we know PlayStation hasn't had a showcase in about 2 years now, so there should be a massive showcase with lots of stuff to show off. And we've been hearing rumors about Konami and the timed exclusives, and that's apparently going to be shown there. And that's a question that everybody has in their mind now because of these rumors, is what does this mean going forward for Xbox? Should they start doing big third-party deals? Now, I put out this question here on Twitter, and I got pretty good traction. I asked if PlayStation and Konami rumors are true, is it time for Xbox to focus more on third-party deals and keeping games off of PlayStation? Now, we know the strategy of Xbox, which is a strategy I agree with. Even from asking this question, I still agree with the strategy of creating access in as many places as possible and getting as many users as possible into the ecosystem. It's the strategy I think that is going to pay off in the long run, with huge markets on PC, huge markets that are going to continue to grow with mobile via cloud gaming. I know that's still in its nascent form. It's still a market that is going to be growing slowly, but I think at some point it is going to be massive. And Microsoft and Xbox are setting themselves up to be the leader there, as we even saw the CMA block the Activision deal, believing that the market is going to be growing so rapidly and fast and get so big, they don't want to affect competition in the UK. And we're still waiting on the EU's decision coming at the end of May, and then the FTC. So there's still lots to be told in terms of the story of the Activision Blizzard acquisition by Microsoft and Xbox, but cloud gaming is a thing that these regulators seem to be concerned about. But the question here, let's say this showcase does happen in May and they announce huge third-party exclusives, Castlevania, Metal Gear Solid, or Metal Gear Solid 3 Remake, and Silent Hill. And I believe Silent Hill, there's rumors going around that they were working on multiple games. So just those are three huge franchises. They will draw in a ton of people, a ton of hype, and they all have big fan bases. If that is confirmed, whether it's timed exclusive or it's full exclusive, because the timed exclusive things are so confusing, especially when you look at stuff like Final Fantasy, with Final Fantasy VII Remake, where everybody thought it was a timed exclusive deal, and then it just never ended up coming on Xbox. And we saw more of that being revealed from the ABK merger documents, basically, where Xbox was saying that PlayStation goes out of their way to make sure that games just aren't able to show up on the Xbox platform. It's not just about making them a console exclusive to PlayStation for a certain period of time. It's just they want to make sure the games don't end up on the Xbox platform. Even in Phil Spencer's interview with Kind of Funny, he kind of hinted at his hands being tied with certain things. And I'm assuming he's referring to deals that go on in the background that Xbox has to contend with. So the question here, should Xbox focus on more third-party deals? Should they go back to the Xbox 360 days? And throughout this entire generation, I've been of the opinion that they don't have to with their current strategy. But as we're seeing things unfold, especially with the ABK merger potentially going to be blocked, I think it's time to ask that question. And I think it's time that Xbox potentially needs to start thinking about what they're going to be doing with all of that money that they may have that isn't going to be held up in this deal anymore. And maybe it's time to start playing hardball and start going after third parties and getting them exclusive to the Xbox ecosystem on Game Pass. I don't think they'll ever go with anything like a console exclusive, but I think that they will start looking at more ecosystem exclusives, which would be via Xbox Game Pass, being able to play on a bunch of different devices. We have some replies here. First of all, Zubitech saying PlayStation is just too big of a pie to cut off. And I would agree with that statement if we're looking just at the console space, but because Game Pass and the ecosystem allows people to play on any device, I don't really agree with that statement overall. I think that they can cut it off because of PC, because of mobile and cloud gaming, and also having the console install base, which they're obviously going to continue to grow. I think they can make deals that will work. I mean, we've already seen deals that are going to work. And even just look at Starfield when it comes out, that they're going to make a ton of money off that without it being on PlayStation. So I don't agree with that statement there. We have Ultra Instincts here saying the time was at the beginning of this generation. Sony's strategy was to approach every major third-party dev and make deals. Microsoft has to have a much larger, stable performance or something. I don't know, PF's in-house studios. I think they both work, but one will show much more immediate details. We have who wants to make a deal with the console where your game only reaches a fraction of the possible players. So a lot of people are misunderstanding this here. When I say Xbox is the ecosystem of every device that has access to Xbox and Xbox Game Pass and cloud gaming. It is not just the console. People are still in this mindset about console. And we even saw this with Phil Spencer in his interview where everyone twisted what he was saying and focusing on the fact that Microsoft's not in the console wars anymore. Their strategy is completely different. And it's just crazy that people still are thinking along that mindset of console, but they are. So I don't think that the same thing will apply to Xbox when they're going out with third-party deals. This person says, nope, they need to keep buying key devs and publishers. Money hiding against Sony is a waste of money. He says, person, as much as I hate that, probably, to be honest, and that's with me too, as much as I do hate it, I think maybe at some point they're going to have to start doing it again. This person says, good that this conversation is finally happening. Xbox should have started 4 years ago. Next thing people need to realize that console sales matter and that it is one of the reasons why Xbox gets skipped so easily. We have a bunch of replies. I mean, this thread actually took off here on Twitter, so make sure to go follow me on Twitter as I'm going to continue asking questions like this. I love to see what people think about it. This person here says, yes, but not so much to block, although that would be a happy side effect as to ensure that primary development is done on Xbox to make sure that it is correctly optimized and performs best there. Sony's hung up on digital fantasy performance tests and they are vulnerable there. So lots of replies here, but I want to know what you guys think. Do you think that it's time for them to start going after third-party deals? Now, the other thing I want to talk about here was something I mentioned on Fonz's show on Sunday, Games Talk Live. Make sure to go check that out. Was RedFall. As we know, there are tons of issues with it. And it's one of those games where you think to yourself, with the whole Cyberpunk debacle, with games like No Man's Sky, and just games that have come out broken, why didn't RedFall, why didn't Microsoft learn from this and make sure that RedFall was in a better state when it released? Now, my overall view on RedFall is that there's fun to be had. I'm now about 13 hours into it, completing the first map, and there's a second map, which I had no idea that there was going to be a second map. So I'm going on to that. And I played it last night again, and I streamed it. I was playing on PC. I was having fun. I was having fun. Even fighting the Hollow Man at the end was fun. And there's lots of vampires that in certain parts of the map that are coming at you, and it gets difficult at times. I'm having fun. There's a base core foundation here of that game is good, but there's just so many technical issues that hold this game back. Obviously, in my opinion, because the game just isn't ready. But can there be a redemption arc? Now, Doc Dark 1985 here, he made a response video to what I had asked on Games Talk Live, and he came to a realization that the reason why these developers and publishers put these games out still broken is because they know that they can still make their money. And I agree with him there. I agree, because I think that there is some sort of cost benefit analysis ratio that they have in the back end that they look at. And they've seen previous examples like Cyberpunk, and they've seen that the fact that these games, they put them out when they're broken, they're going to make their money. The longer they stay in development, the longer that they're potentially not going to be able to make their money back because it gets more expensive, more development costs, more overhead, all that type of stuff. And there's probably a point in the timeline that they have to release it by so that they can be profitable for the game. And I think that's probably why a lot of these games do get released. And then throughout the history of games being released broken, a lot of the games probably have been successful, even with all of the bad PR that hits them when they do get released in a bad state. I mean, we just look here at Cyberpunk 2077, right? One of the worst releases in gaming. And not only that, it was a deceptive release. They lied to people with the entire way that these games were going to run on PS4 and the Xbox One. They even released an Xbox One X special edition Cyberpunk. We had the whole influencer thing with the Cyberpunk chair. Literally, if you look at Cyberpunk and you look at RedFall is like this little brother version of what happened with Cyberpunk. RedFall had tons of hype because it was that first game coming out from Xbox and Bethesda. You had influencers pushing false gameplay, I would say, of this game. And then we saw the real gameplay where people didn't even believe that it was the real gameplay because of the pre-cut gameplay that was showed previously. And then the game comes out and it doesn't run well on the promised console. The Xbox Series X runs better on PC, just like with Cyberpunk, where it ran better on PS5 and Series X, not on the lower consoles, and it ran better on PC. All of these things, right? It's literally the exact same situation, but look what Cyberpunk was able to do. This is an article here from March 30th, 2023. It says Cyberpunk 2077's turnaround just gave CD Projekt Red its second best year in revenue ever. That's how big of a turnaround this game is. And as we know, they did release a really good patch, but there was a huge redemption arc for this game, even with the negativity of the release, not just technical issues, but the deception from CD Projekt Red before this release. And we go down here, it says, per CD Projekt Red's earnings report, Cyberpunk 2077 revenues were up 18% year over year in 2022, with 94% of the units sold being digital. That's a pretty unusual figure in video games, which typically release to enormous unit sales and then see a steady but consistent drop off over time. CD Projekt Red attributes the sales to their long-term work on improving issues with Cyberpunk 2077, as well as the success of the companion Netflix series Cyberpunk Edgerunner. So that is just a huge turnaround for the game. And the question here is Redfall going to be able to do the same? Can they do it? And here are some responses, because this is a good conversation to see if they can do this with Redfall. We know that they are working on this game. We know that they are going to bring updates. 60 FPS is going to be coming to console. And when they do drop that 60 FPS, I think one of the things that they have to do, if they do want to redeem this game, is add in a bunch of other fixes at the same time, like the AI fixes, which is probably the number one biggest problem here that actually hinders the experience, which is the AI of the cultists. It's not that they don't allow you to progress or that they disappear and stuff. It's just that they're so dumb. It just takes away some challenge from the game, when I think the challenge of Redfall is probably one of the best things that it will have going for it, especially when you play at higher difficulties. And then maybe adding a content drop when they drop some of these updates at some point in the future, because this is definitely a game that can be continued. You can play through it and you can do a bunch of stuff other than just doing the main missions. I think this is one that they want you to go through and play through different characters and then just stay on it for as long as possible. But people are going to be going away if they're playing it now after they're done playing because of the issues. They'll probably just want to wait for that patch. See some responses here. This person says here, time and money, anything is possible, really depends on how far Arcane, Bethesda, Xbox want to go and see what the value would be to do so. And that's a thing for sure. They would look at the value. We had some of those rumors coming out that Xbox just wanted to get this thing out because they didn't believe in the project. And if that's truly the case, they're probably not going to try to turn this thing fully around. This person says, nope, game's too short. Cyberpunk was a full-blown RPG. Most people will play through it now if you enjoy it. And well, I agree. Like I said, this is one of those games. There's a second map. They could add more content in those maps, or more stuff to do, add more weapon drops. All of these things can definitely be added into Redfall if they care enough. We have here this person saying, hard to say, honestly. Cyberpunk 2077, No Man's Sky, Final Fantasy 14 had bad launches, but with consistent updates, made the games better as time went by. Then there are some games that are not so lucky. Halo MCC, Fallout 76, Star Wars Battlefront 2, to name a few, by the time those games got better. But I think Halo Master Chief Collection actually did have a decent turnaround, but I could be wrong. But like, I played the heck out of MCC once they fixed it. And even before they fixed it, I played the heck out of it. But even now, people are still playing and they're still adding content to it. So I think that one's been pretty successful. Fallout 76 as well. It had a terrible launch. It's improved somewhat. I don't know how big the community is on that game. I haven't been following it at all. Star Wars Battlefront 2, the biggest thing that was wrong with that was the loot boxes, which just destroyed the game. And that, again, was like a deceitful anti-consumer thing that they had put in there, more so than the bugs. And from what I remember with the launch of that game. But we got some good responses here. And I did ask the question on my YouTube page in terms of what people were thinking about this game and if they were even playing it. And here's what I asked. Is Redfall as bad as the reviews are saying? And the answers I gave, this may not be everyone's favorite poll, but I said, yes, it's terrible. 22% replied to that. The second one was no, it's better than the reviewers are saying. That was the highest response rate at 37%. Other people responding here saying yes, but I'm having fun at 12%. And then 28% of you said you hadn't played, and right now it's at 2.8K votes on this. So a decent sample size as to what people are saying. And I find it interesting about the overall amount of people that are saying it's better than the reviews are saying. And then we have 12% here saying that they are having fun. And I think the general consensus at this point is that there is fun to be had within Redfall, and a lot of people are actually playing through the game. We even have this year, and I don't know how accurate this would be at showing that it is being played by a lot of people, but this is from Xbox Era, who gave this game an 8.5, which I don't agree with that score whatsoever. But they say here, Redfall seems to have found commercial success despite subpar reviews. And what they're pointing out here is that looking at Microsoft's website, specifically on the United States section, you will see that Redfall is currently a 12th most played game overall on console, which, I mean, 12th overall, not the highest, but the game is at 30 FPS for a first-person shooter, so there's a decent amount of people out there putting up with 30 FPS. And then second most played game on Game Pass on console. So Game Pass seemingly is saving this game, because you should not be spending $70 on it, in my opinion. If you did, I'm good for you. I don't care how you spend your money, but in my opinion, I don't think it's worth $70 or even close to that. But Game Pass has come in here and has allowed a lot of people to go out and try the game, which is one of the best things about this service, which is why we are seeing people saying, wait a second, yeah, there are issues, but I'm having fun with the game. And if you were to read the reviews, you would probably think you can't have any fun at all with it. And again, that's because Game Pass, it's sitting at second place there. So it isn't doing as bad as some people think it is in terms of the amount of people that are playing it. And maybe if these numbers turn out to be big enough where Xbox says, hey, we need to invest more in this game because people are actually playing it and they're playing for a decent amount of time. There's a certain percentage of completion rate for this game. And we think that if there's a big patch that gets put out, players will go back to playing the game. So this will be very interesting to see. I want to see how Redfall unfolds. Is it done after this? After a patch to pick 60 FPS and fix the AI? Are they going to be finished with it, or are they going to continue to support it and try to get a turnaround, even from a critical reception point of view, and try to make it the Cyberpunk for Xbox first party? I'm going to leave the video there, guys. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit that thumbs up. If you're new here, hit that subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.